All right, cool. So, guys, like always, right, we're going to jump into national. And the very first piece with this national side of things is let's look at Housing Wire Plus. And so, Housing Wire says, how will mortgage rates impact seasonal inventory in 2024? All right, so as we're looking through this thing, um, we're going to start with the weekly data. And so every week we look at the weekly data and it says this. It says if we were to look week over week, right? This is versus last week. And again, this is rear view facing data, which is important. We're always going to look at rear view facing data because it's going to leave breadcrumbs. It's also going to show us what happened to where we can have a conversation, because this is where a lot of people get twisted, is that they want to have this crystal ball and say that, hey, this is what we're going to see. And they're going to base a lot of stuff. And yes, we can make assumptions, but we actually need to know where we were to know where we're going. So rear view facing data from Friday, it says from the 19th to the 26th, we actually saw inventory go down. So 503,000 total homes on the market nationwide, down to 497,000. Okay. So if we were to look at those same weeks the previous years, so now we're looking in 2023, we see that it went from 466,000 to 457. Okay, cool. So as I'm looking at this thing, I'm not seeing anything drastic. Like this isn't some knee-jerk reaction. It looks like there might be some seasonality still at play, and it looks pretty similar. Then we look at it again, it says the inventory bottom for 2022. We can see that 240,000 homes. All right, awesome. So I'm looking at this, and I know if we were to compare it back in 2022, which this isn't pre-pandemic, so this isn't what we would consider a normal market. The bottom was 240,000 houses inventory on the market. The inventory peak for 2023 now, if we were to look at 2023, we can see 570,000 homes. So we are not at the bottom and we are not at the top by any extent of the imagination. We are currently sitting at 497,000 homes. This was on Friday. And the peak, the absolute most inventory that we saw in 2023 last year, 570,000 homes. And we know there's a lot of seasonality. And we have to keep in mind, like, just think about what last week looked like. And while that didn't, slow a whole lot of people, but we didn't see a whole lot of movement on the market with what was happening with snow and everything else. And so it says, for context, active listings for this week in 2015, 936,000. Again, when we start talking about a market that is healthy and we talk about a normal market, if you will, we talk about pre-2019. We talk at 2019 and sooner data, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, pre-2% interest rates, pre-7% interest rates with a $600,000 average price point, right? Like these are the different things. So we're talking about 2015, we actually saw 936,000 homes on the market. And honestly, guys, like this is truly where we want to be. We want to see more inventory on the market and somewhere around like 5.5%, 6% interest rates. Like we start to see that again and things start to look a lot better. As we're looking at the graph, national single family inventory, here it is. So we're looking at 2019. Again, everything that we want to base a lot of our judgments and assumptions are is 2019 data. 2019 data, we see this and it's just dropping, right? And we're getting towards the pandemic. We got the pandemic, and then we have interest rates are rising, right? We're in 2022, interest rates are going up. 2023, they were high. They stayed high. So a lot less people were selling their home. And then there was a little bit of a relief where the Fed was like, hey, we're done raising rates. The Fed said that, and more people got more comfortable putting homes on the market, doing different things. New listing data again, newly weekly, newly new weekly listing data for last week over the last several years. So again, so this is last week's data. And we can actually see that we're getting more inventory on the market, which is good. The Fed has come out and said that, hey, they're going to go through and they're going to stop raising rates. They did come out yesterday or Sunday and they said some silly stuff again, which scared some people. But this is what we want to see. We want to see more inventory on the market. We start seeing more inventory on the market. That means that people are feeling comfortable about selling their houses, which means that there's something good going on with the inventory. as well as interest rates. There's things that are happening. New single family listings, right? So we're looking at 2022 versus 2023. And so this is 2 years ago versus last year. And we can actually see, right, 2023, it looked a lot different than 2022. So we have very, very low inventory. And this is the conversation that we need to be having as we're having these conversations and letting people know that a lot of the things that are happening, yes, is interest rate driven, which is shrinking down inventory, which is actually keeping prices pretty steady in the grand scheme of things. Even though the buyers aren't rushing out to go buy houses, it's not because they don't have a demand for homes, but it's because the affordability of the houses. And we need to see this number go back up. We need to see more inventory on the market, but then we can also see the seasonality piece. The seasonality is pretty much the same. So as we're having conversations and we're talking about seasonality and low inventory, this is the time of year. And again, we used to talk about people going to sleep as jack-o'-lanterns, right? Because we're looking back all the way October, November. People go to sleep as jack-o'-lanterns, and then in the springtime, they wake up as Easter bunnies. And we start seeing inventory start going back up around those times. We can look at this thing, we can talk about price cuts. So we can see that, 2022, 19%, 2023, houses were sitting, people were panicking a little bit more. And that we've seen in 2024 so far, 30%. And this is versus the same week. And so this is week over week data. National single family listings with price cuts, right? So we can see this and it's kind of just moving a little bit. There's no real big knee jerk reactions for the most part. We're kind of playing within 10%. So 10%. And again, as we're having these conversations with our people, the 10% price cuts that we need to be making sure that as we're talking about this, it's not that these are panic sells, right? People are not panic selling. What is happening is they have overpriced the home and they are getting it priced into the market where it makes the most sense. We are actually seeing buyers right now be a little bit more pickier. And that makes a whole lot of sense, guys. If we were to go back and let's talk about 2021 and we had 2% interest rates, we didn't have enough inventory in the market. We saw huge demand. We saw money was practically free. And so we saw people waiting their contingencies. They were going X amount of dollars over asking. It's called $100,000 over asking. They weren't doing inspections. They weren't doing a lot of different things. And because of the scarcity mindset that a lot of people had, because they were losing out on deals and they were having to write offer after offer after offer, the houses were on the market and they just kind of flew off. And again, people were looking and they're like, you know what, we just need a house. I just need to get into a house. I'm okay. We can paint that later. This doesn't fit my needs, but I need to have something. I just need to start playing the game. Well, with interest rates the way that they are now, people aren't willing to just play the game. So they're actually going in and they're saying, hey, if I'm going to spend this kind of money on a house, X amount a month, because in the grand scheme of things, they don't care what the price point is. They care about what their monthly payment is. That if the monthly payment is to a point where they don't feel comfortable with it, they are going to look at the house and be like, you know what, this isn't the right house for me. So that's actually what we're running into. And so we're actually seeing these prices drop. And so we're seeing motivated sellers drop their home price because the market is telling them that the buyers at the price point that they are at are not buying their home. And it could be a cleanliness thing. We've had these conversations in the brokerage. It could be a cleanliness thing. It could be something around the functionality of the home. Buyers are being more picky with interest rates the way that they are because of the monthly mortgage payments. We're not going to talk about the 10-year yield, but we do know that when we're going back and forth, this is in direct correlation. As one goes down, the other one goes up and vice versa. As we're looking again, here's the other thing. So purchase application data. This is important, right? This actually tells a story. So as we're looking through this, right, this is last week's data. And so as we're thinking about last week's data and we're talking about purchase application data, we need to be looking at this. So we've had 3 weeks of data at this point because we don't count New Year's. We just don't. So we're not going to count the week of New Year's. And we look at this and we have 2 positive prints versus 1 negative print. What this is telling us is this. And again, we're so far on the floor at this point that any movement is a win. But what this is telling us is this. At 2 of the 3 weeks that we're actually watching the data this year says that people are actually talking to lenders to see what they qualify for. So if I'm looking at this and maybe I'm putting out social media posts or I'm putting this into my scripts and having conversations with people, I am actually letting them know, hey, we've actually seen two of the last three prints that we've seen for purchase application in the positive. So 66% of the time that we've actually been looking at this, we've seen positive prints, which means that there are actually more people raising their hands, expressing that they are interested in purchasing a house this year. That's what this data says. That they're actually reaching out to a lender. They're saying, hey, pull my credit. This is what I make. Tell me how much of a home I can afford based off of my monthly payment. And then, right, they go to the lender. The lender says, hey, you actually qualify for $6,000. And they're like, oh, no, I don't feel good about that. I actually want to spend somewhere around this. And they say, well, based off of that, this is the amount of home that you could buy. That is this, guys. So as we're going through and having conversations, two of the last three prints that we've looked at have been positive, which means more people are raising their hand and saying, I am interested in purchasing a house in 2024. Then a lot of things that we're doing, this is what the Fed looks at, and we're not going to dive into this too deep, but what the Fed does is they go through and they look at this unemployment. And so as they're looking at unemployment, and it talks about 60 Minutes on Sunday night. So this is Friday. So this hadn't happened yet. Powell didn't go on 60 Minutes at this point. But what we do is we know that the Fed is actually playing with rates depending on unemployment and what the economy is doing. Very important. You guys, this is very important to think about and to know what the Fed is doing. And as nicely as I can say it, is what the Fed is going through is they want this thing called a soft landing. All right. So this is, you guys are going to hear this term, the soft landing. And what they're trying to do is they are trying to keep rates as high as they possibly can without affecting too many job losses and without affecting too many people stop spending money. Now, this is the thing. They want people to stop spending as much money. And they're okay with some people losing their jobs. And when I talk about some people losing their jobs, right, we're talking about a big number. I'm not talking about like 5, 6, 7 people, right? We're talking about a pretty big number of unemployment. So as we're going through, what the federal government's doing is they're saying, hey, we can actually keep rates the way that they are, or we need to keep rates down, or we actually need to put rates up based off of how many jobs there are, what job growth looks like. Because that's the thing, we start seeing job growth, that means there's too much money circulating in the federal government's and the Fed's eyes, the federal bank. And so what they're doing is they're saying that, hey, there's too much money floating around to where the economy is growing, and we don't want the economy to grow anymore. And so we need to put a halt on it. We need to make money more expensive. That's what this is. And if they start seeing a lot of people lose their jobs, they're going to say, oh my God, we got too tight. But they're comfortable leaving it at a high level, knowing that we are in a housing recession, if you will, right? We are in a housing recession. And all that means is less people are buying houses, right? We're not seeing economic growth in the housing sector. And it is stemming from interest rates, which are not going to go down until the federal government, until the Fed sees something in the point to where they have to push it up or down. So let's fast forward, right? So that was Friday, and here's Sunday. So we're talking about February 5th. This was Monday, talking about what the Fed was talking about on 60 Minutes. And it says this, here's the headline: no Fed pivot in sight as Powell addresses rate cuts on 60 Minutes. All right. So we're talking about Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is, for all intents and purposes, let's call him the Fed. All right. So the Fed came through and they were on 60 Minutes, and they really shouldn't have been. And what they do is a lot of people watch 60 Minutes, and a lot of people are very interested. Stock traders, anyone that's doing with the economy, money, they're watching what the Fed is doing. So they got a question, right? It says, they said, inflation's been falling steadily for 11 months now, and you've avoided the recession. Why not cut rates? And the Fed got on and said, you know what, we're not cutting rates because we're still not comfortable. Like, we're comfortable that we're going down, but we're not comfortable enough to cut rates. Okay, well, this kind of, guys, if anyone was watching anything on Monday, we saw some stuff happen. We saw interest rates go up after this comment because banks weren't very comfortable with the comment. We saw the stock market go down because the Fed came through and said, you know what, we're actually just not comfortable with everything that we're seeing yet. And it's like, we need them to actually stop speaking. And we need them to stop going on national television and actually saying things like this because it causes knee-jerk reactions with everything that we do. So this is what it is, and it's interesting because this is Logan Moshami, which huge advocate for this guy. And if anyone's watching, like, go onto Housing Wire on Mondays and actually listen to this podcast every Monday, and he talks about what's happening. So he actually breaks down all this data as well. But he goes through and he says, like, the Fed is old and slow. And what he's saying is this, is that they're looking at some antiquated models around what is happening with recessionary models back in the past. And with the recessionary models is what the Fed is doing. And they are being really reluctant to drop rates because they think it's going to send everything in a spiral and we'll just go on this spending free frenzy. And then money's going to be devalued. And then we're going to have a bigger issue with inflation. So they're trying to make sure that they're being able to stop that. And again, they're looking at unemployment claims. The next thing it says is said, like, hey, the next meeting that you guys have on the table is coming up in March. All right. So we're in February right now. We just start February. It's February 6th. And they're saying in March, what's the likelihood of you guys cutting rates? And Powell pops on, he says, so the broader situation in the economy is that the economy is strong and so is the labor market. And inflation's coming down. So there's no point in cutting rates. This is the issue. This is the issue that we're running into. As long as we're running these models, because this is what the Fed's doing. The Fed is running models that says that if people aren't losing their jobs and people are spending money, there's no reason to drop rates, even if the housing sector is taking a huge hit. That's their mindset. There's not enough people are unemployed, and people are still spending too much money. So there's no point in us to drop rates because people are still spending and people still have jobs. Unless we see something, because this is the model that they're running, where people stop spending money or more people are losing their jobs and the economy isn't growing, it doesn't look like the federal government is going to drop rates, is kind of their stance. So we're just going to have to monitor this. We do think that they said that they will go through, right? If we were to look at this thing, while they're taking this stance on a public forum, we do believe that rates do drop around Q3. We just don't think that it's going to actually happen in March. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's jump through it, right? So now we're looking at interest rates. All right, so we're looking at interest rates and we're in optimal blue right now. And if we're looking at this thing, what I have it done is I have it set from January 1st to February 5th. So we're looking at a full year's worth of data, and we're looking at conforming loans, dark blue, and we're looking at FHA in the purple. So January 1, right? We're over here and we're looking because January 1 was the holiday. So the second, 6.6 and 6.5 from conforming to FHA. We saw a little bit of a drop, but this is where it got weird, right? So we did see it pick back up, and this is not what we want to see. I mean, unless you locked in and you were looking at houses on Thursday, right, where we saw this big dip. And this is the importance of having conversations with our people, guys, with some of this roller coaster mentality that we're on. I think that as of right now, it's probably a decent time to be a buyer, right? And this is probably what we saw, is we saw a positive print on Thursday where interest rates went down and people are like, oh my God. So their real estate agents are, hey, just want to let you guys know, interest rates went down. If there's a home you've been eyeing and interest rates didn't make sense, maybe it's the time to go look at that house, right? Because we can lock in that rate. But we actually have to have a home identified to lock in the rate. And I think that's very, very important as we're having these conversations. We actually have to have the home identified that the home buyer wants to buy to lock in our rate. And then if they didn't lock in here, and then now we're at 6.5, 6.7, depending on what kind of loan product that you're doing, this scares a lot of people away again. And this is that third world country banking system that we do not want, right? We were looking pretty good. Yeah, it shot up a little bit, but we don't want to see this. This is not good for our business and for the general public. Because again, this is what we have to keep in mind. Sellers become buyers. And so if a seller puts their home on the market, and most people need actual money to be able to purchase a house, and so they put their home on the market and they're seeing big upticks, right? They're seeing this roller coaster go back and forth. And they say, well, if I list my house And then the day that I identify a home, we're at 7%. I can't afford a home at 7%. So it doesn't make sense for me to list my home. And on the buy side, same thing. They're going through and they're looking at the percentage, because the percentage doesn't necessarily not matter. The dollar doesn't matter, but what their monthly payment does matter. And we know that as we're ticking through, these things cause some pretty big shifts. So this is what people are monitoring as they're going through. And so we just need to be going and having conversations. And this is one of the things that we should be doing as homework, guys. Like everyone on here should be going, whether they're getting the information from Mitch or if you guys are just subscribing to this website and you're going in and weekly, daily, you're going in and you're looking what your interest rates are so you can actually educate your buyers and be thinking about, like, you guys see this where like a lender will come up and like, hey guys, rates are down today. Awesome. So then you got rates are down today. Plus, what the loan products of your preferred vendor lender of choice is. And they have a product that says, awesome, we take whatever today's rates are. And plus, we do a buy down for them. And then you're like, cool. So if this was Thursday and your lender's doing a buy down, rates on an FHA were 5.3. Guys, like, this is big. And if you know this kind of stuff and you're being able to educate your clients, you will be the real estate economist of choice for them. But we have to actually be students and actually know what's kind of going on here to be able to have a conversation around it. So then, all right, cool. So let's look at state data right now. So this came out, DMARS stats came out, and we are looking at January. So again, when this information comes out, it's rear view facing data. So this comes out in February. I think this came out like Sunday or Saturday or somewhere around there. And it says our median price point, $565,000. And again, guys, if we're looking at median, they took the lowest price home, they took the highest price home, and they just kept working their way until they hit the middle dollar amount. That is the middle dollar amount, $565,000, which is up month over month. So this is higher than it was in December. Then if we were to look through closed homes, we closed 2,501 or 2,051 homes in January, which is down 25% from December. Sales volume, we actually sold less volume in homes by another 25%. And so again, if we were looking at this, we saw median prices up and we actually sold less homes and less sales volume. So we're actually seeing, that middle of the road, that $565,000 home, those are probably what is selling more so in that price point as we're looking at it. Months of inventory also went up. And guys, these are the conversations, right? We're looking at this months of inventory, 2.38 months, which means it would take less than 3 months if today we did not put another home on the market, it would take less than 3 months for every house to be sold. We are still in a seller's market. This is the only thing that determines a seller and buyer's market in a balanced market is the weeks of and the months of inventory. So at 2.38 months, there's not enough inventory to go around to keep the population sustained. And so as we're looking at this, guys, it's going to take 5-6 months of data. And even though it went up 25%, again, we're dealing with seasonality. There are less buyers out there when it's cold. There's less sellers selling their houses when it's cold. Holidays, getting back into it, the temperature. So this number isn't saying that, hey, guys, we're on a trajectory going up, even though it went up 25%. I would say this is more around seasonality. Median days on the market, 36, right? So that went up 20%. Homes are sitting on the market for about a month and 6 days, and that's median again. So that means that there's a home that went on the market on 0 days, and there's probably homes that are still sitting on their 100 plus, 200, 300 plus days. They're sitting on the market, and all they're doing is they're taking in, they're going in and landing on the middle number. That's median. So active listings, 4,800 on the market. That's down 2.2%. So we are seeing less listings. New listings, we did see 89%. So we're actually seeing some people wake up. So while there's less active listings on the market, we actually saw a lot of homes hit the market in January and pending home sales. So this is also cool. So this number, this is foreshadowing, pending sales is foreshadowing the closed homes. So we actually have 3,200, it's called 3,300 homes pending. Look at that. So let's look at January, 2,051 homes closed. Now we look at pending sales, 3,200. So this is looking like when we have February data, we're actually going to see more homes close when these numbers come out next month. So this is foreshadowing about what we're probably going to start seeing. We're going to start seeing more sales happen. Closed homes versus pending is what we're looking at right now. So 3,200 homes, 33 almost, went under contract in January. So come February, if none of these fall out, which we know some will, we will have more closed houses. And this is what we see in a market, right? With the market doing what it's doing, there is seasonality, and we start to see it go up and up and up. And then it starts to go back down when we start getting into the fall and winter months, and then it just keeps going. This is the cycle of real estate. So then looking at it, right, if we were to look at Arvada, and let's just look at it at a very micro level, right? So we just looked at the state of Colorado. We looked at national before that. And this is where it gets interesting, right? So we can actually start to see these lines. And this is just Altos data. You guys all have access to this. If you were to look at Altos research, this is free. This is $0. And if you look at here's this real-time market profile, and this is as of today. And so as of, today, February 5th, 2006, this week, the median list price for Arvada is $725,000. So again, like we could probably tell some stories about that, right? So if we were to look again, if we were looking to see what our median close price for $565,000 for the state of Colorado, and Arvada's at 725,000. It's saying that it's a pretty strong seller's market, right? The seller's score right here of a 50. It's saying that it's a strong seller's market, and they have this data right here. You can see it says last month. So it's a strong seller's market, even more so than it was last month. And it's based off of all these data points. It's looking at the median list price. And you can see it tapered off a little bit right here. You can see that the median price for new listings, it also went down a little bit. Price per square foot's gone up. So I would say that there's probably less expensive homes going to the market, right? Because as we start seeing like bigger houses, the price per square foot starts going down. So this is probably smaller homes that are coming onto the market. We're seeing average days on market kind of went down a little bit by 2 days in Arvada. You can look through here. The median days on market has gone up a little bit, right? Almost a week, week over week data. Price decreases, we've stayed pretty flat. Like it's gone up a little bit. Like we're talking about less than 1 basis point a week, which in the grand scheme of things, that's flat. Price increases, we've seen this. I don't put too much stock in price increases, right? Like as I'm looking at this is probably new homes, probably new home builds that are coming onto the market, and they've gone, this price increase. So nothing huge there. Relisted, we saw some homes hit the market again, so they fell out of contract. So this goes to show us, right? We just looked at this data, pending home sales, 3,300 almost. And then we look at Arvada specifically, and we saw some homes get relisted here. So obviously some homes fell off the market or fell out of contract and made their way back onto the market. And in Arvada specifically, we're seeing less inventory. So this is why it's important. Like as we're going through, we need to know what cities and things that are happening to be able to have conversations with our buyers to kind of let them know, like, hey, we're actually seeing less inventory on the market. So, it could be a little bit more competitive. We might actually see sellers be a little more reluctant to drop their prices, maybe concessions to have those conversations, as well as we're having conversations with our sellers so they actually know, like, is there a bunch of inventory on the market? And we're going to be able to do that enemy method, right? We're going to be able to look and say, like, there's been an influx of inventory in your city. And so the different price points and being able to have those conversations. Median rent has pretty much leveled out. Like we can see that it went, went from 3,000 to 2,900 back to 3,000. So that's pretty level. And then the market action, right? The market action is just this number right here, where they're saying that we are in a seller's market. So one of the things that I want to do, guys, so check this out, right? We're looking at $565,000 median home price. So what I did was I just looked in Arvada. And this is a home that's for sale, $550,000. And I think this is, something good, and just kind of play with it and look through it. So 550K, which $15,000 less than the median close price in the state. But at the same time, we're talking, a couple $100,000 cheaper than what homes are typically selling for in Arvada. So 550K, Lee Court, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,000 square feet. But what I want you guys to look at is this. Here's the monthly payment calculator. So what I did is I took the monthly payment calculator, and here we are. So 5.565, and actually let's change it a little bit. So let's go to a conforming loan. No, you know what? Let's keep it FHA. Let's keep it FHA. Let's go 6527. So 6527, we're going to say that they're going to put 20% down. I mean, I don't know if people feel comfortable with that, but let's change that. Let's say they're going to go, 6% down. They're going to put $33,000. So we have a $550,000 price point, which is what, 15K, right? That's what we saw, 15K cheaper than the median price, closed sales price in the Denver Metro. And then as we're going through this, if someone were to buy this home at 550 and they put 33% or $33,000 down, which is 6%, they're on a 30-year fix with the current interest rates at 6.527. What that means is they're going to be paying $4,017 a month on a $550,000 house at our current price point, right? So this is the things that we need to know. Like, this is what people are running into in the conversations that we're having. This is what is influencing their decisions to buy. So let's go through and let's do this. Same house. If they were to go through and it's the same home, we went 6%, and let's just say that the interest rates gets down to 6.25, right? So let's go side by side so I can show this. And let's go here. Come on. And let me change my view because I don't think you guys can see the whole thing. Here we are. This is the exact same house. And this is what it looks like for just that slight drop in the interest payment. So we're talking $100 a month, right? We're going from $4,017 to $3,923. Guys, this is the conversation that we need to be having. That you have people that are on the fence, right? There's people that are on the fence and they are talking about interest rates dropping. What number, what percentage are they comfortable with? Like, and I don't think they know, right? They probably don't know the answer to this, but if we're going through and we're just educating them, and we did it, right? We just went through and we said the same exact house, and we just changed the interest rate from 6.5 to 6.25. Not a huge swing, right? In all reality, like, this is probably the amount the Fed would drop it if they were to drop it. And it's $100, not even $100, right? Like, I'm rounding pretty significantly in the other favor. The exact same price point, the exact same amount of money down, 30-year fixed. This is not a huge swing. So as we're going through and we're having these conversations, do our people really know it? I mean, what would we really need to get to? I mean, let's look at even 6%. So $200, right? We got a $200 difference at that point, which I get it. That adds up. We're talking, north of $2,000 a year in savings. And as we're going in, like, this is what the conversation. And so what we do know is this: when the interest rates do go down, we're going to see more people's hands go up. We're already seeing positive prints, right? We're already seeing purchase application data go up. And so as interest rates are going down, we're going to see more people raise their hand and see what they can qualify for. And then when that happens and interest rates do happen to go down, we're going to see more people in the marketplace. And so, yes, you're going to be paying $200 less a month potentially during that time than you would today. But this is the thing: when there's more competition, what do we see? We see people bring money out of pocket. And so does it make sense to be spending $200 more a month, or does it make sense to be spending $50,000 more one-time fee? And you can do the math, right? Like, how long would it take you, $200 a month versus $50,000 to recoup that money? And we got to be thinking that the price is going to be increasing. There's going to be competition. There's going to be all kinds of other factors. And so to become the real estate economist of choice, like, these are the conversations we need to be having. We need to be educating. We need to be showing it. And what would it look like? What would it look like to actually go through and, screenshot this, go run your own comp, go have a conversation with someone, and actually just do these mortgage calculators side by side. And yes, they're dirty numbers. They're rough. There's going to be other variables that come into play, but this is pretty telling. Like, even if we go 0.5% less, right? 500, 50, we're talking about basis points, right? If we're going less and we're going a percentage down, 50 basis points, 50 basis points down, $200 a month. I think these are the conversations that we need to be having and educating our people. So then what I want to show you, last thing, what we've done is we've gone through the office and we have created something for you guys, and you guys should have all gotten this email. So what we have done and what we've gone through is we have created these market updates. And so they're kind of reimagined from what DMARS look like. And so you guys should have all gotten an email from KW Concierge. That is actually us. And through that, you have branded content, right? So we have closed home sales, 2051 down. We have these different things. We have both Facebook and Instagram ready for you to download and to do what you want with it. You guys are going to be seeing more and more of this kind of content kind of flying through to help you take more market share and mind share as we're going through and kind of doing some different things. I've fallen off here. Give me a second. So hopefully this is helpful and you guys can do some different things with this, but this should all be in your inbox right now. And this is truly like this data just reimagined and branded so that you guys can use it however you want to use it. And I know that there's people that aren't part of DMAR as well. And so this should be helpful. Guys, as we're going through this, we're thinking about it. We're thinking the interest rates have spiked up a little bit. Purchase application data, we got 2 out of 3 positive prints, so more people are raising their hands. We're seeing interest rates fluctuate a little bit, but as we're seeing the interest rates fluctuate, we can actually see the median price, close price is actually going up. We're seeing more inventory come on the market. We are having more pending home sales. And as we're going through, we just looked at the interest rate percentage different doesn't cause that much of a different monthly payment. And in the grand scheme of things, we know that as the interest rates are going down, more inventory is potentially coming up. We're also going to see more competition, which means that there is going to be more out-of-pocket cost for our buyers. With that being said, does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns before we wrap the meeting?
Charles, I just have a quick question. Are these stats for Colorado as a whole, as a state, or more of the Denver metro area?
So it's the Denver metro area. So they're only pulling typically the houses that get serviced out of DMAR or out of RE Colorado.
Okay, perfect. This is really helpful. Thank you guys for putting this together. It's a nice change up from the DMAR structure, but I like the branding. Thank you.
Perfect. Hey, you're welcome. Awesome. Awesome, everyone. Well, hey, have a great rest of your day. Let us know what we can do to help. And these should be in your inboxes now. So if you want to pull it and do anything with it, they are yours to do. And you should start seeing more and more content come out for you guys. And it will always come from that concierge. And so the email, let me just pull it over so you guys can see it. Maybe, potentially.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I don't see it. So awesome, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye all.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.